Stephen Miller's wife, Katie Miller, recently decided to build a media career off of her husband's current status within the Trump administration by having on administration officials like Stephen Miller or J.D. Vance or other people, and then using her husband's name to go on debate shows. The only problem is, Katie Miller is very easily shaken in these situations. She's thrown off, she's not very quick on her feet, and when pressed on anything regarding her worldview, she crumbles and gets quite combative. I did not think that a TV appearance could go much worse than her Piers Morgan hit about 2 months back, where she threatened to deport Cenk Uygur live during a debate. She got so scrambled and angry that she threatened to sick her husband, Stephen Miller, on Cenk Uygur in the middle of their Piers Morgan debate. Well, last night, Katie Miller went on Abby Phillip Newsnight, one of my favorite debate shows, my favorite debate show to go on. Really grateful for this show. And Katie Miller's performance was less than impressive. Multiple times she stumbles, her worldview crumbles in front of everybody. A friend of the show, Bakari Sellers, presses her here on the drug strikes in Venezuela. I've been making videos about Pete Hegseth's role in all of this, but Stephen Miller has also been spearheading a lot of the most extreme policy in the administration. This clip is going viral because of how depraved Katie Miller's answer is, and because of how easily she kind of just rolls herself. So make sure you subscribe below, drop a like, and let's start off here.
In the end, I want to go back to something that Bakari said. He said that those orders that were given of the drug boats in Venezuela were illegal. Can you cite those statutes, please?
Yes, because it's actually called the Due Process Clause of the United States of America. Because can you point to one of those boats that actually had drugs on them? Do you know that? Do you know about the Trinidadians who were killed innocently, who were just fishermen? Can you actually kill those fishermen without due process? So the answer to the question is yes. I can cite the Constitution, just as Scott did.
If you go and say that those were members of Al-Qaeda or ISIS coming to our shores with enough drugs or enough ammunition to kill 100,000 Americans, wouldn't you expect our commander-in-chief to take action to stop that? That's what's happening here. That is what's happened, by the way. That's what happens in every war zone, whether you go to Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, Somalia. Go there. Let's talk about it.
Give me one name of one individual that you can compare to Al-Qaeda coming through that had enough fentanyl to kill all these Americans. Can you name one?
Let's go to what these drug boats are talking about, which is that we are actively ensuring that the war on drugs that we've been doing for 50 years, which has not worked one single day.
Yeah, right. We can agree on that.
It hasn't been successful one day. So wouldn't you want our country to...
Katie Miller just got rolled in like 3 different ways, and there's more to the clip, but first of all, Bakari Sellers immediately shoots down her question and says the Due Process Clause in the Constitution. Just keep in mind, nobody on the left, no liberals, nobody is arguing for drugs to come into the United States. We want these people to be stopped, but there is a judicial process by which you stop these people. There is due process. And then Katie Miller tries this hypothetical thought experiment about Al-Qaeda coming to our shores, asking if the president would stop them. Of course the president would stop them through judicial means, not military means. You don't just strike boats in the middle of the ocean. Generally, that is not how it works. So Katie Miller gets thrown off very, very quickly and then can't answer the question.
Ensuring.
She gets asked, name one person that came in on these boats. If you're claiming these were drug traffickers, shouldn't you have at least a name or something? And then on the flip side, Donald Trump pardoned a former Honduran president earlier today who is known for being a massive drug trafficker. Disgusting.
Name one.
Let's go to what these drug boats are talking about, which is that we are actively ensuring that the war on drugs that we've been doing for 50 years, which has not worked one single day.
Yeah, right. We can agree on that.
It hasn't been successful one day. So wouldn't you want our country to try something different? You talked about elections and why they're important. In 2024, President Trump won and beat Kamala Harris under stopping the war on drugs, under stopping the entrance of illegal drugs into our country, under stopping the surge of illegal immigration into our country. And that's exactly what
Can I just put a fine point on this?
Yeah,
just really quickly. I think that my point maybe differs from yours, which is fine. But I believe that individuals deserve some modicum of due process. And I think that that is something that's enshrined in our Constitution. If you have some...
And international law, because when due process erodes domestically and internationally, we devolve into a barbaric society. Yes, drugs coming into the country is bad, but what's even worse than drugs coming into the country is an erosion of due process that will affect all citizens.
Facts that you wanted to tell the audience tonight about the individuals that you know that were brought in or bringing in, and maybe if we arrested them, maybe if we actually saw what was going on, maybe if there wasn't an ulterior motive, because what I do know, and I think you know this as well, that there were innocent Trinidadians who were just on a fishing boat who died as a result of that. I know that they're military members that swore an oath to this country who now have a problem with that. So I
think you're cherry-picking facts.
Hold on, the other part is that, I mean, we also know that the United States did have some of these people in custody, and rather than actually try them, which we have done in the past, we let them go. We also don't know, they've never said explicitly what drugs are being carried on these boats, but the fentanyl, we know, is not coming from Venezuela.
It's not
but
Venezuela.
The issue here is about the legality and about what happens when there is a system that doesn't contemplate whether things are legal or not.
Yep, very well said from Abby, but then everything further devolves into a shit show when Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, invokes Jennifer Welch from the I've Had It podcast and tries to equate Jennifer Welch going on a live television debate show to get pushback with Nick Fuentes going on Tucker Carlson's softball podcast with zero pushback whatsoever. In that, you see the problem. Jennifer Welch says things, gets pushback, goes into the lion's den. Meanwhile, Nick Fuentes has gone on podcast after podcast after podcast with zero pushback whatsoever. At the same time, Jennifer Welch calling someone a fascist is different than Nick Fuentes saying that he is a fascist. Nick Fuentes always says, I love Hitler. He always talks about Jewish people, women, black people in gross ways. He says the Holocaust didn't happen. If it did happen, it's a good thing. Maybe the numbers are fake. He says all of these insane things, and you're going to equate that to Jennifer Welch saying that Nick Fuentes or Stephen Miller, they are fascistic. It's just not a real argument, but let's watch this play out.
Not say, hey, Tucker, unacceptable. Don't do that.
It's not up to you or myself to police speech in our country.
I mean, shouldn't it be up to J.D. Vance to say this is not part of our movement?
Are you okay? Are you okay with Nick Fuentes?
Here we go.
Also, Abby's point gets kind of flown over, but that's the point right there. We need moral clarity from the leaders of the Republican Party. The onus is on people like J.D. Vance, sort of Donald Trump, but the new leaders of the Republican Party, people that will be around for a while, J.D. Vance, others in the Republican Party, to put their foot down and have moral clarity about this type of, anti-Semitism, hatred, even anti-Indian hatred, which is the main point that J.D. Vance needs to contend with. His wife is Indian, his children have Indian names, and the way that Nick Fuentes talks about J.D. Vance's wife is crazy. So you need moral clarity, but you're getting none. J.D. Vance is muddying the waters. That's a key point.
Not say, hey, Tucker, unacceptable. Don't do that.
It's not up to you or myself to police speech in our country.
I mean, shouldn't it be up to J.D. Vance to say this is not part of our movement?
Are you okay? Are you okay with Nick Fuentes?
Here we go. I'm a Jew. Do you want to go there? And let's say this.
Yeah, I just asked a question. Was yes or no?
Yes, I'm okay.
Are you okay with
if Nick Fuentes wants to be able to speak freely in our country, he has every right to do so. Do I agree with his views? Do I think that they should become mainstream in our country?
Yes or no question.
Absolutely not.
But hold on.
I really want to go back to this for 1 second.
But this isn't about whether he can speak freely. It's about whether someone like Tucker Carlson, who is a very powerful force in the conservative movement.
You host people on your show all the time who call my husband and myself a Nazi. So how is that any different from Tucker Carlson going on Nick Fuentes having Tucker Carlson on his show? It's not different.
He's actually
anti-Semitic. He's anti-Semite.
A Hitler admirer. Nick Fuentes is actually a Hitler admirer.
But he literally is not a good human being.
That is a different thing.
Excuse me, you have Jennifer Welch on your show very often, and you've never pushed back as she has called my husband a white nationalist.
Hold on.
That is no different than Nick Fuentes going on Tucker Carlson's show. It's not, and you should admit it.
Well, hold on.
That is no different. Jennifer Welch calling Stephen Miller a white nationalist after Stephen Miller uses white nationalist rhetoric at Charlie Kirk's funeral, after he carpet bombs the entire political landscape with inflammatory rhetoric about all Democrats being terrorists. That is somehow the same as Nick Fuentes being a white nationalist. Again, Nick Fuentes says the Holocaust didn't happen. If it did happen, it's good that it happened. Nick Fuentes repeatedly says that women, Black Americans, Indian Americans deserve less rights. He is constantly racist and xenophobic, and calling that out is the same as being a fascist. It just makes no sense.
Hold on. How is it anything similar? It's not remotely similar at all. Nick Fuentes sits around and says that he likes Hitler. How is that similar
Katie have to do with it? What does she have to do with it? She has nothing to do with it. Literally nothing.
Scott, Katie is the person who just said to me that it is comparable to say that Nick Fuentes, who is literally a neo-Nazi, is the same as somebody, a liberal, who has an opinion.
Just a terrible argument from Katie Miller. Keep in mind, please, this is all because Jennifer Welch a few months ago called Stephen Miller a white nationalist, which is Not even offensive at all.
Who is not a neo-Nazi. They are not
a hateful opinion.
the same.
How do you want, excuse me, just let's go back to this point one more time.
But
Nick
Katie,
Fuentes can espouse an opinion on Tucker Carlson's show.
It is not the same
and he didn't push back the same way you didn't push back when someone called someone in my family
Hold
a
on a
Nazi.
second.
It's not different,
Hold on a second.
It's not.
If someone comes on this show and says, I love Hitler and I admire what he did, they would never, first of all, I would never invite them on the show and they would never be invited back. So
I mean, there's just a different level of Jennifer Welch stepping into a debate show and saying something and then getting live pushback versus Nick Fuentes having a softball interview. It then continues.
They are not the same thing.
What I find so,
but Katie, but hold on, Katie.
No, we
do
can
you
agree
believe
to
that Jennifer Welch has a right to say something negative about your husband?
The same way Nick Fuentes has the right to say what he wants to say.
So you think that it's okay? Hold on. Do you think it is okay for Jennifer Welch? Is she allowed to say something negative about your husband?
Absolutely, and it's your job as a moderator then to push back.
So that's the first thing.
It's the same way you're asking Tucker Carlson to push back against Nick Fuentes.
But hold on, Nick Fuentes.
Is it not different?
Nick Fuentes is espousing, he's not describing someone else as a Nazi. He is saying, I admire Nazis. You don't think that's a different thing?
Do you believe my husband's a Nazi? You allow someone on your show to say it.
Do you think those things are different or not?
I don't think anybody around
the same equitable comparison
so,
for Nick Fuentes to go on Tucker Carlson's show as you to have people to have on your show.
You are making a comparison of two things that are not in any way the same. I acknowledge that and listen, when
it's
people
happened more than once, Abby.
This is an unpopular opinion, but I actually think it's good for Katie Miller to go on these shows because it's good for the liberal movement. It's good when they have such weak interlocutors going on Piers Morgan, going on Abby Phillip Newsnight, and crashing the hell out in front of everyone. Katie Miller digs herself into a hole. She threatened to deport Cenk Uygur, and throughout this debate, she increasingly loses her mind, gets shaken up, and listen, doing these hits are hard. I'm never gonna shit on somebody for being a little bit shaken while they're doing these roundtable debates, but don't be so inflammatory, cocky, aggressive, xenophobic, all of the above while you're doing this. I mean, the way that she's going at everybody, including Abby for having Jennifer Welch on her show, as if that's equivalent to Nick Fuentes saying that he loves Hitler and discounting the Holocaust, the entire argument is weak and it falls apart once you think about it for 1 second. I'm gonna leave it there. I love you all and peace out.